I was still holding my mug of coffee when the bridge behind my house groaned, cracked, and split under the weight of a cement truck. The sound was like bones breaking. And there, standing beside that bright orange beast, was Valerie, our brand new HOA president. Blonde bob mirrored sunglasses, clipboard in hand, wearing that kind of smile that says, "I own this place." That was the moment I knew this wasn't about cement. It was about control. That bridge had been mine for 16 years. I built it with my own hands, planks of cedar steel bolts, and a whole lot of patience. It wasn't fancy, but it was steady. It carried nothing heavier than my pickup, maybe some kids on bikes or a neighbor's golf cart when the main road froze in winter. It was the kind of bridge that hummed under your boots, whispered you were home, and now this woman was driving industrial trucks over it like it was a freeway. I never asked for a fight. When the HOA was formed 3 years back, I voted yes. I thought it would keep things tidy, maybe get a new streetlight or fix potholes. $50 a year seemed harmless. But power turns people strange. Give the wrong person a clipboard and they start believing they're mayor. Valerie got herself elected after the first board quit. Her husband was a contractor, and suddenly every community project somehow involved his company. The first letter came a month after she took over. Friendly reminder, it said your kayak rack violates visual harmony guidelines. It was 20 feet inside my own property line. I sent her the county survey stamped and signed, thinking that would end it. It didn't. At the next HOA meeting, she rolled out a map that looked like a crayon drawing. She pointed to a blue squiggle labeled Shared Creek Access and said, "As you can see, both sides of this bridge provide ingress to community recreation space." I stood up and held up my official survey. "As you can see, the public easement stops 53 feet before the creek. That bridge is private property." She smiled, that thin, smug smile of someone already planning their next move. "We'll take it under review." That's HOA talk for "we'll do whatever we want." 2 weeks later, I woke to the sound of diesel. Same truck, same driver, same woman waving her hand like she was directing an aircraft carrier. The bridge trembled, gravel sprayed up. I yelled, "Hey, that bridge isn't rated for that weight." She didn't even turn her head. "Then maybe you should have built it stronger, Ethan." That was it. That line right there. I knew she was picking a fight. That night I drove metal posts into the ground, hung a reflective sign that said, "Private bridge, 5-ton limit, trespassers prosecuted," and locked a chain across the entrance with a padlock the size of my fist. By lunchtime the next day, the chain was gone. The sign was ripped off. In its place was a pastel HOA notice, non-compliance, unauthorized obstruction, remove within 24 hours or be fined. That was the moment I stopped being polite. I started documenting everything. Photos, timestamps, license plates, tire tracks. I was done playing nice. Neighbors started picking sides. Some texted me, "You're absolutely right." Others posted online. If he didn't want people using it, he shouldn't have built it in the middle. Which is funny because it's not in the middle. It's mine. Land I pay taxes on, mow and repair. My buddy Joel came by one evening with coffee in hand. He looked at me half amused, half worried. "You're about to have a war." "Already in one," I said. Next HOA meeting. Valerie stood there with a PowerPoint titled Community Connectivity Plan. Stock photos of smiling families, zero mention of permission. When she thanked me for my spirit of cooperation, I said, "Spirit isn't binding, Valerie. Deeds are." Her smile didn't move. "We'll consult legal. You might want to consult physics first." The next week, another cement truck showed up. I walked out, stood on my bridge, and raised my hand. Valerie sat in the passenger seat this time. "You're over the weight limit," I said. She gestured toward the lot beyond the creek. "Community project. Don't make this harder than it has to be." "The sign says 5 tons, I told her. "The sign wasn't approved by the board," she said flatly. "Neither was the bridge," I replied. The driver laughed quietly and kept going. The planks bowed, creaked, but somehow held. Barely. I watched a hairline crack form in the timber like a warning whisper from the bridge itself. That night I sat on the porch tracing that crack with my thumb. For a second I wondered if maybe I was the one being unreasonable. Maybe I was turning into the very thing I hated, a stubborn old man guarding a piece of wood. Maybe it was just a bridge. Then Joel showed up again, toolbox in hand. "We fixing or teaching?" he asked. I looked at him, then back at the bridge. Both. We lifted up the decking near the center, revealing the steel support plates I'd installed 15 years ago. I pointed to the bolts. "If I swap these out with shear pins, it'll hold for pickups, but not a 12-ton truck." Joel blinked. "Then gravity gets the final say." We worked all afternoon, careful, methodical. Nothing dangerous. Just inevitable. When we were done, the bridge looked exactly the same. I mounted 2 trail cameras, one under the deck, one facing the approach. 3 days later, I heard that familiar diesel rumble. I didn't even get up. I just opened my tablet and watched. Valerie stood there again, hands on her hips, giving orders. The truck rolled forward. The bridge flexed, dipped a few inches, but didn't break. The driver hesitated. Valerie waved her hand. "Keep going." The truck lurched. The rear drum tilted, and half a ton of wet cement spilled out into the creek like gray lava. Valerie screamed, "You're finished, Ethan. You're going to jail." I walked down calmly. "Morning, Valerie. You might want to read the sign next time." "You sabotaged this bridge," she shouted. "No, I said you sabotaged common sense." That's when the sheriff pulled up. Someone had already called. The deputy looked around, then said, "Ma'am, this is private property. There's a posted limit." Your driver ignored it. Valerie stammered, "But it's a community route." Got documents proving that he asked. She had nothing. I showed him my footage. He nodded. "Looks clear to me." Valerie tried to climb onto the truck to prove something, but slipped straight into the cement slurry. Neighbors laughed. Even the deputy cracked a grin. By sunset, the video was everywhere. HOA president's cement truck sinks on private bridge. 500,000 views in 2 days. Someone added dramatic music and the caption, "Gravity always wins." Valerie didn't back down. She doubled down. Sent a mass email titled, "Unsafe Private Structure Endangers Community." I printed it, framed it, and hung it over my desk. Then she tried to fine me $25,000 for damage to community property. I nearly spit out my coffee laughing. The next day, a county inspector named Ray came by. "Got a complaint," he said. "Claims you built this without permits." I handed him a folder. "Built 16 years ago, approved by the county." He flipped through it. "Looks fine to me." Right on cue, Valerie stormed down the hill. "What's going on here?" she barked. Ray shrugged. "Inspection. Everything checks out." "That's impossible, it collapsed," she snapped. He pointed at the bridge still standing. "Looks solid to me, ma'am." She turned red, mumbled something about corruption, and stomped off. But she wasn't done. A week later, I got served Ironwood Ridge Homeowners Association versus Ethan Harper. They were suing me for $200,000 in damages and emotional distress. I called my lawyer, Dana Fields, sharp as a tack, calm as Sunday morning. She read through the papers and said, "This is ridiculous. You've got everything you need. Photos, videos, maps. We'll counter with reality." Court day came. Valerie showed up in a Navy suit, lips pressed tight, flanked by her lawyer, a guy who looked like he practiced arrogance for a living. He started, "Your Honor. The defendant deliberately weakened a community bridge, endangering lives." Dana stood. "Correction, private bridge, private land, posted limit, ignored." She laid out the videos, the county plat, the deed. We called Joel and Tom, a retired engineer who'd once served on the HOA board. Tom explained the load calculations. Joel testified that he saw HOA trucks cross the bridge multiple times despite warnings. Then Valerie took the stand. "Do you believe Mr. Harper intentionally caused the bridge to fail?" her lawyer asked. "I know he did," she said. "He told me once gravity would teach us boundaries." Dana smiled. "Mrs. Dawson, how many times did HOA vehicles cross my client's bridge?" Valerie hesitated. "Maybe 10, and each time over the 5-ton limit." "They weren't official limits," Valerie shot back. "They weren't approved by me." Laughter rippled through the courtroom. Even the judge cracked a smile. "Are you aware your husband's truck weighs 12 tons loaded?" Dana pressed. Valerie's jaw clenched. "Are you also aware," Dana continued, holding up the county plat, "that this document places the entire bridge within Mr. Harper's property?" Valerie opened her mouth, but nothing came out. The judge leaned forward, took off his glasses, and said, "I've seen a lot of HOA disputes, but this might be the first time someone buried their credibility in wet cement. Case dismissed. Outside, a reporter asked if I had any comment. I said, "Never underestimate a good bridge." I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. 2 days later, the HOA called an emergency meeting. I went out of curiosity. Valerie stood in front, voice trembling, insisting the court's decision was based on incomplete information. I raised my hand. "Before you appeal, you might want to see this." I plugged in a flash drive and projected a government document stamped in red, U.S. Federal Waterway License, Private Access Corridor, 2007. This, I said, is a 20-year federal permit giving my property exclusive crossing rights. The bridge, the water, the land underneath, it's all outside HOA jurisdiction. The room fell silent. Valerie's eyes darted around, panicked. "You forged that," she shouted. Tom stood up. "No, he didn't. I verified it this morning." He lifted another folder. "We also audited HOA accounts. $42,000 of community funds spent on your lawsuit without board approval." The crowd erupted. Someone yelled, "Is that why our playground lights don't work?" Valerie slammed her hands on the table. "You think this is over? He's just one man with a bridge." I looked at her evenly. "You're right. But that bridge carried truth and you drove right over it." Laughter filled the room. Relief. Justice. Tom called for a vote to remove her. Every hand went up except hers. Valerie gathered her papers, shaking, and stormed out. No cameras this time. No audience left to cheer. And that's where it ended. Because sometimes justice doesn't come with parades or applause. Sometimes it's just quiet, the sound of water under a bridge that refused to break. Lesson. Patience isn't weakness. Silence isn't surrender. And gravity always keeps its promises.